All right, we're ready to start off the year in algebra class. If you don't have a copy of the note outline, talk to me in class, or you could visit the class Moodle page. I'll be honest, the first section really isn't nearly as exciting as most of what we're going to do. It's just a whole bunch of terms and kind of figuring out which words go with which math operations. But once we get this done, we'll be able to get to the fun stuff. So, all right, want to start out chapter 1, section 1, variables and expressions, looking at some terms. So variables. Usually we think of the letter X with that, but the key is that it's going to be a letter or a symbol. Later on you'll start getting symbols for like Greek letters often for angles and things like that. But a letter or symbol that represents a value that can, this first part of the word variable has vary. So a letter or symbol that represents a value that can change. So can change. And for those, often we think, like I said, of X, or Y, or a real common one you'll get down the road if you haven't already is theta. That's the Greek letter theta. But you get to other ones also. Constants. Constants are going to be things that never change. They're constantly the same. So a value that doesn't change. Could talk about God's love never changing, but constants in math are most often going to be things like numbers. So you could pick like 5, or pick your favorite number, or if you wanted to, you could go with like pi. That's a good math number. Just a constant that's woven kind of throughout the fabric of the universe. Numerical expression, for that, it's really just a combination of numbers and constants. So it's just numbers. I'm going to use that symbol there, the hashtag, for number this year. So numbers and constants. So you could do something like 2 pi. So 2 times pi, or twice the, 2 times pi. Algebraic expression. Next thing. So now you kind of have this algebraic in there, which has the word algebra. And algebra is really going to be all about using variables for things. So an algebraic expression, what's going to kind of differentiate that from a numerical expression is it may contain variables, such as x and y or things like that, constants, and or operations. So variables, x, y, that's what makes it algebraic. The operations would be like plus, minus, multiplication, that sort of thing. So an algebraic expression could be something like a equals 2 pi r. So the circumference of a circle, 2 times pi times the radius of the circle. What often messes people up in there is you'll get the question on the test saying, well, which things in there are the variables? And a lot of times people will correctly pick the A, because the area is going to be a variable. It's a value that can change. And they'll pick the R, but often they'll go for the pi as well. But pi isn't a variable. A variable isn't just a non-number. It has to be something that can change. So just A and R would be the variables in there. Just kind of a heads up, because the first quiz is coming eventually. Last thing, in this page at least, is to evaluate means find the answer for something, or to find the number answer. So if you get a problem that has like, I don't know, I'm just making something up at this point, but we'll say 2, still in the highlighter. So 2 plus 7 times 4 minus 5, and we'll maybe throw parentheses. So if you get a thing that says evaluate that, and we'll talk about order of operations soon this year, or bring that back to your memory, means crunch all those numbers together and come up with a number answer, such as, I think it's -5, but I'm trying to do my notes, think, and talk all at the same time. Sometimes that's a little bit dangerous. So, all right, to and from story problems. This is something where some people really struggle, and if you can get this figured out, it's going to be pretty easy. Often in class, I'll give people a couple minutes to go through and fill in as many as they can in there, and then we'll kind of go through and talk about it. Since we're just doing a video, that doesn't work insanely well for that. But feel free to pause the video and then quick do it. But I'm just going to go through and fill them in. So that first one we have there, difference, that is subtraction. So under the minus sign, I'm going to put difference. Quotient is the technical word for division. So under division, I'm going to write quotient. And minus would be another subtraction. So if you're watching a story problem and it has, what's the difference between Jack's age and Jill's age? Or what's the quotient of these numbers? That kind of tells you what to do. So, okay, times would be multiplication. So times. Divided by, it's another division one. So if you had a certain number of pieces of pizza and you divided it by the number of people on the basketball team, something like that. Less than, back to subtraction. Jack has 14 marbles less than Hank, or something like that. Increased by, finally we get an addition one. So increased. You have 10 minutes of homework, and then Mr. Falk increased your homework by 15 minutes. More than would be another addition, so more than. You have so many minutes of homework more than someone else. Sum would be another addition, getting them all together in a row here. Product is multiplication. And then last but not least, plus would be addition. So if you can take and kind of decode a story problem with those words, look for those words, and that'll tell you what to do with the numbers or the variables that represent the different things. Last but not least is this word is. And is means equals. So often then you have to take it from just like 5 plus 7 to maybe 5 plus 7 equals X. Or Jim's age is, so whenever you see that word is, you can put in equals in there. So that's really it for this first section, and we'll dive deeper into algebra in the upcoming sections. But these learning targets listed here at the end of your notes, that's the stuff that you should be able to do in the homework. Those will be the candidates for quizzes and tests and what you really should know to be able to move on so you mastered this section. And the homework for the section is this right here. So I'll expect that you have that done for tomorrow unless we've planned something different in class. Have a great night.